I love your hat, Jacob.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Hi everyone, welcome to Murphy's Law Garage. Today we install an electronic boost control solenoid and a blow-off valve on Jacob's Elantra end. Dang it. Alright, so the very first thing we're going to want to do is get the air box and intake tube out of the way. This is actually the bypass air coming from the existing blow-off valve right here. But I'm going to disconnect this hose, remove some clips here, disconnect this hose, disconnect this hose clamp right here. And there's a couple of bolts, one down here on the other side, and we're going to remove the whole intake assembly out of our way, and I'll show you what that looks like down there. All right, so remove this hose, remove that hose. Those two hoses come off from here and there. Loosen this clamp that's on the turbo inlet elbow. Undo the two clips on the upper intake box and yeet that into the grass. The next thing we need to do is we got to take this bolt out. We're going to take this bolt out, and there's a pair of clips here that hold the snorkel on, and then we're going to lift this out. All right, so there was a third bolt right here on that air box, by the way. So 3 bolts, air box off on the ground, the lower part anyways. And you were presented with the hot pipe. See it right here? That's your hot pipe, the charge pipe. And the blow-off valve is right here. The electronic boost control solenoid is right around on this side of the pipe. Now, I think I have plenty enough skills and hand strength to undo all of this and replace it in the car. But for the sake of YouTube, I'm going to take this out of here so that you can see it on my bench, and I can go stand in the air conditioning and explain it to you. These hose clamps right here, if you're choosing to remove it, they've got these breakaway caps on top of the connection for the hose clamp, the bolt. They do this because in the factory, they don't want people fussing with torquing these to the appropriate amount of torque. So there's a fastener that hangs off the top of this, and they tighten it until the fastener breaks off. Very European thing, very German. And it leaves behind a cap on top of this. You can just take a pair of pliers and pull this cap off, and you've got a normal hose clamp underneath it. So I'm going to remove probably this hose clamp here, and then I'm going to remove the one that's down here where it connects to the intercooler. I'm going to take this whole assembly out, and we'll bring you back when I'm in the shop with it. And here's the cap I'm talking about that's on top of that hose clamp where you would normally put a flat blade on it. You can see it's literally just shaped like a nut, and it pulls right off of it. So I'm gonna end up pulling this one off, this hose clamp that's on the throttle body right here. You can now see the flat blade, and this was on top of it. Just yank that off. So I've got the hose clamp that is down there on the intercooler pipe all the way at the bottom, and this one loose. The next thing is you need to remove the mass airflow sensor connector. Not mass, I'm sorry, speed density. This one just has a push and pull connector that goes right here for this guy. And then the connector that's on the electronic boost control solenoid is this guy here. It's a little different. You have to pull this metal tab back and off. It's not gonna pop off right now. But if you just grab a pair of pliers or a screwdriver and pull on this, it'll pop out, and this connector just slips right off. Don't lose this metal retaining tab because it's the only thing that holds it on. Next, you're going to remove the hose that goes down to electronic boost control solenoid. This is the barb it's pushed onto right here on the intake manifold, so you're going to pull that off. Now all the connectors are disconnected from it, and I'm going to pop it off and fish it out of the hole. All right, and just like that, you've got a nice thick black pipe in your hand that you can enjoy.
Brings me back to about 3 years ago. Oh, hold on a second. That brings me back to like so totally 3 years ago. So super.
Jacob's not being an asshole. Jacob is my favorite buddy who is also gay, and it's okay.
But this hat is extremely flamboyant on me.
It is.
It makes me uncomfortable.
What's funny is that that's my hat, and I'm not gay, but Jacob puts it on and he's like, I'm gay and this is uncomfortable. Okay, so we're going to go bring this inside, and we're going to show you how to put the blow-off valve and the ECPS on it. All right, so got the charge pipe sitting up on the counter here, so now it's way easier to work on Got the GFB blow-off valve that is made for this car to go on here, and we also have the replacement electronic boost control solenoid, ECBS, otherwise is known as Pierberg, probably German, I'm guessing.
I think Volvo's use it, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay, so maybe Swedish, maybe German, who knows. This is apparently a very common failure on these cars, and happens to be a failure that Jacob is experiencing right meow.
Apparently, if you make higher levels than stock boost, it becomes an issue. And I remember my tuner specifically saying you're gonna need one, and I'm like, no, I'll be fine. And then, no, I'm not fine, and I should have just listened and got this done like 7 months ago.
Yeah.
Then waiting.
His car is basically returning to wastegate pressure under heavy boost because the solenoid's not acting right. So we figured while we had this crap out, we'd also do a blow-off valve so Jacob can hear the early 2000s glory that is whoop.
And my tuner also recommended getting a new blow-off valve because
it holds more boost.
Not only that, but sometimes if the solenoid fails long enough, the blow-off valve itself becomes affected. So rather than having to take all of it out twice, I would rather get it resolved the first time completely than to have to come back and redo this mess again, because I'm sure there's only so many more things I could do before I get told to get the hell out of here.
Right.
With this car, because I know he loves working on it.
Yeah, definitely not some scratched up knuckles getting that lower hose clamp off. It seems like everything I do on this car. So I'm going to start taking some of this apart real quick. I think the most clear and obvious one is I'm going to pull this hose clamp off here, off of the blow-off valve, undo 1, 2, 3, 4 bolts, and remove the blow-off valve, and we're going to stick the new blow-off valve on. But how glorious the air conditioning is in here versus doing this outside.
Yeah, it's a lot nicer. It's a lot nicer.
So I've got the hose that was once connected right here removed, and that looped through this harness clip right here, which I've snipped. And that's now chilling off right here to the side. Just take a picture so you remember where these things go. Also got the one removed off of this nipple right here. Yep. If you take it out of the car, this is going to be way easier, especially like breaking these bolts loose. I just used my little impact and it came right off. You're definitely going to want to remove the clamps on these hoses and then use a pair of needle nose to twist the hose until it decides to slip off. But once I've got those 4 bolts off, here's the blow-off valve. That sits right off to the side right here. And then getting to the ECBS is nothing more than, what is that, 1 bolt? Yes, 1 bolt. And these hoses are chilling loose like this. Now, the kit comes with some hose. I've got a feeling that it's probably meant to replace these 2. And the cars section is right here. The reason why you probably need to replace these 2 is they're so tight on there, they're almost as if they're glued. So let me get let's get the ECBS off, and then we're gonna start putting it back together. All right, so once you remove the 1 bolt here that holds this on, there are a pair of ears. These 2, you can take a pair of needle nose and squeeze these in, and this bracket will slip off of the old ECBS. Now, the new ECBS does not have provisions to be slipped onto a bracket like that. In fact, I guess you could try to bolt it on one leg like this or one leg like that, but no matter how you do it, these 2 hoses never align very well. They're always facing off at weird angles, and it's hard to tell, but that hose would be kinked too hard in either of these positions, no matter how you turn this. So I guess the instructions aren't very clear about, maybe they just want you to zip tie this up or just bolt it here and loop the line around or something like that. But I'm going to do something a little different because, you know, I'm complicated and special that way. I think I'm going to cut these ears off of either side to make this valve fit flush. I want it to sit in the factory position so the hose routing is the same because it conserves space much better. And I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill a hole in the bracket right here so that I can set the valve on the bracket like this and run a hose clamp or a zip tie through it so that it's held to the bracket in the factory-esque position. All right, and just like that, I've got a hole drilled in it. It could have been a smaller hole, but I wanted a little wiggle room to pass a pair of zip ties in it. You can see I even caught the two depressions they have in the bracket to help hold the zip ties, and it is very firmly on there in the factory position. Now, Jacob and I did check the website to see if there was a bracket specific to the Elantra N, and there does not appear to be, because a lot of the images show a custom bracket put on here. I don't know why there isn't, but regardless, I've got it in the factory position, which is conserves a good bit of more room in that very tight area. I'm gonna get this bolted back on. All right, next we have the blow-off valve. The blow-off valve, of course, you have the physical valve itself. You have the 4 bolts to hold it down. Allen key. You can use this to adjust the spring pressure to blow-off valve. Going either way doesn't hurt anything, because this car, it uses the computer to control this valve mostly, but it will change the sensitivity. So if you go looser, it's more sensitive to throttle lift to blow-off, which means if you don't put a bunch of boost in it, like you're just driving light throttle, you can get it to blow off by backing off this way. Don't make it to where this bolt sticks up more than 3 millimeters from the head. That's explaining the instructions. But if you go all the way tight, then it's only going to blow off when it's built a bunch of boost. Now, let me explain to you why, though it may sound cool for this to blow off all the time, realistically, you want to find some place in the middle, because if you're always blowing off your boost pressure, you'll get yourself in a situation where you've lifted throttle a little bit and it blows off, and you roll back in and you have no boost left anymore because your blow-off valve is set too sensitive and it let it out. Realistically, you want this pretty tight. You want medium throttle, lots of load. That's when it's blowing off. All the rest of the time, this valve should stay shut and hold on to the pressure you have in your charge system, so that your turbo responds faster. So what I need to do now, because this is specifically built for the N cars, it is already clocked in the correct position, so I'm going to bolt it down on this manifold in the correct position. This hose has a white line on it that indicates what is up. We're going to put that back on in the upward position. Something else I wanted to mention is this bottom part of the valve right here controls how much of the vented pressure goes to atmosphere through this trumpet, or recirculated back into the air box. So if you turn it clockwise, which is this way, it goes all out the trumpet, and if you go back the other way, it goes to recirculation, and you can find a place in the middle if you don't like how loud the blow-off valve is. Jacob wants all of the noise, and he's even ordered the optional long trumpet that changes it from a whoosh to a whistle, so it'll be like choo whenever it goes off, rather than a shh. So
yes, I want to scare all of the old people in the room.
So, and it doesn't matter. This it won't hurt the computer because it's speed density, whether it goes recirculation or out of the trumpet here. So let me get this put on. All right, so I've got everything set up. They've got enough silicone hose in the kit to replace everything that's here. I've gone ahead and taken, though this is silicone and it shouldn't be as bothered by the heat, I've gone ahead and put back this, I forget what this specific material is called. It'll come to me at some point. Neoprene. This neoprene material is very resistant to heat and abrasion, so I put it back on. It used to be on this line that goes to the intake manifold, so I've got it on the silicone one. You can see everywhere we've got a connection. I've got a nice, small, strong zip tie, a skinny zip tie that can bite the hose really well and ensure that it can't slip off of the fitting or cause a leak. Let me rotate this up a bit. You can see here I've got the recirc hose put back on. There's a white line on it here that references the top of the blow-off valve, and they have that on there from the factory so that you can tell where the top of the blow-off valve is, where that hose should be referenced. I want to say that I'm surprising it's not more common that guys don't vent to atmosphere their factory blow-off valve to get more noise. If you want to do that, all you have to do is pop the hose off of this hose, and then I would break this mesh out of here, because this is a silencer designed to keep it from making a louder hush or whistle. Break this junk out of here, and then bam, now you have an atmospheric blow-off valve on your stock car. And all you need to do is where this connects to the intake for the turbo is put a cap over the connection. You can get a pipe cap from the parts store that's made of rubber that slips on there, and you just tighten it down. Either that or cut the hose right here and stick something in there that blocks the pipe and hose clamp it down so that it can't leak. And then bam, you've got a much louder blow-off valve as well, because it won't upset the car. Anyways, so you can see I've got the silicone hose coming up here to the top of the blow-off valve. I also have, see the factory Christmas tree here? I cut out the old zip tie that was in it, and I put my own zip tie in it to continue to hold the silicone hose in. And one other thing is that the new ECBS valve, it has a pigtail on it that adapts from the car to the new style connector on it. So you need to make sure to put this in. You can't get them backwards. They're very different. So now I'm going to go snake this back in the car. I wish I could get you a better shot, but this is me with a 1/4 inch drive ratchet and a 8mm socket on that hose clamp. It's not that bad to get to. You got to get it under this TCU harness connector and with a short socket, and you can get on it and tighten it up. It's not bad to get this pipe in and out of here, guys. Don't fight it in the car, please don't. The neighbors are being noisy today, don't mind the lawnmower. You can see I've got the silicone hose connected up onto the intake manifold here, again with a zip tie, pulling it nice and tight. Don't trust the factory clamps on this wall of hose because it's different. It's not as tight as it needs to be. You can see here I've also got a zip tie this pigtail harness that adapts the ECBS to the factory connector. I didn't want to leave this dangling loose because it's right here by the fan. The fan is literally right here. So I've got it zip tied to the speed density connector right there, so it can't get in a bad place. But it's super easy to get this charge pipe out, guys. Don't fight with this crap in the car. 2 hose clamps, a little bit of patience, it slips right out and you can work on it outside the engine bay. Now let me go ahead and put the intake back in, and then Jake and I is gonna go for a ride, make some funny noises. All right, everyone, here's Jacob's contribution to this project.
I'm such a super mechanic. Jesus Christ.
All right, everyone, so the upper intake is all back in again. It decided to rain on us while we were working. I do want to say it's really nice that Hyundai puts reference marks on everything. So you see this white line? That is meant to line up with that notch. So from the hose to the notch. And then exactly the same with this other hose up here. That's cute. Anyways, this is all put together again. We're gonna go down the road here real quick and see what kind of noises it makes. Is that childish enough for you yet?
Not quite, but it's a very good step forward.
Yeah, the next thing we're gonna do is put that whistling trumpet on it that Jacob ordered so that it's much more obnoxious. So how about one more for the people, Jacob? Get a downshift in there for him? Because it did it on the downshift too. It does it on the downshift too. Nice. Much louder that time.
I'm going to fucking relieve your gas every 4 days.
It was just like the Red Eagle Talon. That blow-off valve made you probe it to blow off constantly. Awesome. All right, I realized the whole time we were doing that the windows were down. It's just as obnoxious with the windows up. Go ahead, Jacob. Yeah. Yeah, if anything, you can hear it even better with the windows rolled up. Oh gosh. So fear not, both you and everyone around you will hear it. All right, y'all, so that's it. That was a GFB blow-off valve and that replacement aftermarket better ECBS. It's not a difficult install. For the average person's probably tops 45 minutes to an hour. Just call it an hour. And it sounds great. Maybe Jacob will send you a video on the Facebook whenever he has the whistling trumpet put on it.
Potentially.
Maybe.
We'll see. I don't want to do anything to further incriminate myself.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Anyways, thank y'all for watching. As usual, we love you. God bless. Peace.